The galaxy had never seen a species like humans before. For centuries, the Interstellar Council had controlled the stars with their fleets, their laws, and their demands, and every species had learned to obey or perish. Earth had been on the Council's radar for some time, a small blue planet with clever inhabitants, but the Council had always thought it harmless. Then came the message the Council demanded tribute. They wanted Earth's resources, technology, and loyalty. Their demand was firm, cold, and confident, as if humans could not refuse. On Earth, leaders gathered in the largest council chamber ever built, a space station orbiting above the planet's surface. The room was full of humans who had spent their lives preparing for moments like this. And among them were Alex Carter, a skilled diplomat, and Lily Morgan, a strategist whose mind had solved problems many thought impossible. They studied the council's transmission, noting every word, every pause, and every subtle threat. Outside the chamber, the Earth spun silently in the dark of space, unaware that the fate of the planet would soon be decided not by strength, but by determination. Alex leaned toward Lily and whispered, "Do we even consider answering?" She shook her head and smiled slightly. "One word," she said. That word would carry the weight of humanity. It was not fear that guided them, nor was it desperation. It was understanding that their survival depended on clarity, on courage, and on the willingness to stand together. Across the council chambers on Earth, teams of scientists, engineers, and diplomats began preparing for the response. Eric Nolan, a physicist, and Rachel Price, an engineer, reviewed technology that could help defend the planet if the council reacted violently. Every detail was considered, from communication systems to energy shields, from orbital defense platforms to fleet mobilization. Humanity had learned from observation, from experience, and from its own history of survival. The council, meanwhile, discussed Earth as if it were a minor annoyance. Representatives of alien species spoke with arrogance, assuming that humans were slow to respond, timid and easily controlled. Their underestimation of humans was complete, and that would become their first mistake. The humans worked quickly and calmly, drafting a message that would leave no room for misinterpretation. Citizens across the planet, unaware of the specifics, followed every broadcast with fascination, sensing the tension that filled the air. Alex Carter and Lily Morgan reviewed the message repeatedly, making sure it carried the meaning intended: defiance without insult, courage without recklessness, and unity without compromise. The preparation was as much about clarity as it was about readiness, because a poorly worded response could ignite conflict, while a precise one could change the balance of power. Outside the chamber, the sky glimmered with satellites and orbiting stations, the result of decades of human ingenuity. Each one was a symbol of progress and of a species that had risen beyond its planet. Yet in this moment, their greatest weapon was not technology but willpower. Alex and Lily knew that the Council had never faced a species like humans before. They had not encountered one that could combine creativity with persistence, intellect with instinct, and courage with compassion. That knowledge was both empowering and terrifying. As the hours passed, the message took shape. It was simple, concise, and daring. No embellishment was needed, no explanation required. Humanity had chosen a single word to speak for them all. The room held its collective breath as the final draft was approved. Outside, the people of Earth carried on their lives, unaware that a single message would soon ripple through the stars and announce to the galaxy that humans were not to be trifled with. In the quiet moments before the transmission, Alex looked out at the blue planet below. He thought of every human who had struggled, who had built, who had dreamed, and he realized that all of it had led to this. Lily stood beside him, calm and confident, knowing that humanity was ready. The Council expected fear, hesitation, or a long negotiation. What they did not expect was the clarity of human resolve. One word would soon tell the galaxy that humans were united, fearless, and unyielding. Every system, every observer, every species would take notice. The stage was set and the moment had arrived. Humanity's response would be a statement not just of survival, but of identity, of power, and of the courage to stand alone if necessary. No longer would Earth be a quiet backwater, ignored and underestimated. With a single word, humans would announce themselves to the galaxy as a force that could not be ignored. The human message reached the Council quickly. It contained only one word, simple, direct, and filled with meaning: no. The moment the word appeared on the Council's screens, Silence fell across the massive hall. Aliens from different worlds stared at the transmission in disbelief. They had expected negotiation, hesitation, or at least some sign of fear. Instead, they received defiance, calm and unwavering. Panic spread among some representatives while others argued about how to respond. Some wanted immediate retaliation, to send fleets and punish Earth for its insolence. Others warned that humans were unpredictable and could not be underestimated. Back on Earth, the transmission had already been sent, and the response from the Council had begun to filter in. Alex Carter and Lily Morgan watched the live feeds with careful attention. They were not surprised by the initial shock. They had expected confusion and disbelief. Across the planet, people celebrated quietly. Citizens on Earth, as well as in colonies on Mars, the Moon, and orbital stations, shared the moment. A sense of pride filled the air, and there was relief in knowing that humanity had spoken for itself. Meanwhile, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to prepare for what might come next. Eric Nolan coordinated communication systems, ensuring that every orbiting station and planetary colony could stay connected. Rachel Price oversaw the activation of defensive systems, making sure that if the Council reacted with violence, humans would be ready. Technology was important, but planning and strategy mattered more. Lily and Alex met with military leaders, discussing potential scenarios and contingencies. They knew that humans could not rely on force alone. The Council had numbers, fleets, and weapons far beyond anything Earth possessed, but humans had ingenuity, adaptability, and determination. Across the Council, debates became heated. Some aliens could not comprehend why any species would respond with just a single word. They had always controlled others through fear, rewards, and punishment. Earth had broken the rules. Fleet commanders like Aaron Velen and Kira Solon demanded immediate strikes, but elder diplomats argued against rash action. They feared that attacking Earth would only unify humans further, making them an even greater threat. On Earth, preparations continued quietly. Volunteers and specialists worked together, ensuring that the planet and its colonies were ready for any attack. Olivia Turner and Samuel Bennett tested defense grids and coordination between fleets, while everyday citizens contributed by monitoring communications, managing supplies, and supporting morale. The Council underestimated humans in every way. They thought small, simple, and predictable, while humans thought fast, creative, and flexible. The one-word reply was more than defiance. It was a challenge. It was a statement that humanity would not bow to anyone, no matter how powerful. Across the galaxy, observers began to notice the unexpected. Reports of humans' courage and decisiveness reached systems far from Earth. Rumors spread quickly. Humans were different, dangerous, and not to be ignored. Alex and Lily continued planning, knowing that the Council would respond but confident that humans were ready. The moment was critical. Every decision, every action, and every plan mattered. Humanity had spoken with one word, but the work that followed would determine whether that word would echo as a warning or a promise. Citizens watched the skies, feeling the tension and pride. They understood that the galaxy had underestimated them, and that underestimation would soon be corrected. The Council had expected submission, but instead it faced resolve. Humanity, united and determined, had spoken, and the galaxy would never forget the word no. The Council could not ignore Earth's defiance for long. Fleet commanders and diplomats debated endlessly, trying to decide whether to strike immediately or find a way to coerce humans into submission. They assumed that numbers, technology, and experience would guarantee victory. What they did not realize was that humans had prepared carefully for such a moment. On Earth, Alex Carter and Lily Morgan coordinated with military leaders, scientists, and engineers to ensure that every possibility was accounted for. Defensive fleets were stationed in orbit, while orbital stations and satellites monitored Council movements. Olivia Turner and Samuel Bennett tested maneuvers, communication protocols, and rapid response teams. Across the colonies on Mars, the Moon, and beyond, citizens were trained to respond quickly to emergencies, offering support, intelligence, and coordination. Humans were small compared to the Council's fleets, but they were clever, adaptable, and fearless. The Council dispatched patrols near the asteroid belts, expecting easy victories. Instead, human forces used the environment to their advantage. Ships hid behind massive rocks, mined asteroid fields were used strategically, and human pilots performed daring maneuvers that astonished alien observers. Each encounter was brief but effective, showing not brute force but precision and ingenuity. The council grew frustrated and confused. Alien commanders argued over tactics, unable to predict human behavior. Earth had become a puzzle they could not solve. Meanwhile, engineers like Rachel Price and Eric Nolan modified existing ships, repurposed old technology, and created unexpected solutions. Humans hacked council communications, intercepted transmissions, and learned the movements of fleets before they arrived. Civilians contributed to intelligence and supply efforts, proving that every human could make a difference. The galaxy watched in quiet awe. Reports from minor systems spread quickly. Humans were resilient, smart, and fearless. Even species that had been rivals of the Council began to reconsider their own assumptions about humanity. Back on Earth, leaders kept a steady hand on strategy. Alex and Lily knew that escalation was inevitable, but they also knew that humans had an advantage the Council could never anticipate: unity. Where alien species were divided by history, politics, and suspicion, humans acted as one when facing a common threat. Skirmishes intensified, but humans always adapted. When the Council tried to trap them, humans found unexpected routes, used improvised shields, and turned disadvantages into opportunities. Each victory, no matter how small, increased morale and confidence. Across colonies and stations, humans shared knowledge, refined tactics, and strengthened their bonds. Every citizen, every engineer, every pilot contributed to the effort. The Council realized that they had underestimated Earth in every way. They had assumed humans were simple, reactive, and fearful. Instead, humans were proactive, creative, and fearless. Each Council plan failed and the frustration grew. Some members called for immediate destruction of Earth, but others hesitated, fearing that any attack would make humans stronger and more united. On Earth, Alex and Lily watched the Council's mistakes with satisfaction, knowing that humans were proving themselves without losing their humanity. The one-word reply had been just the beginning. The battles were not only about survival, but also about proving that humans could face impossible odds with courage and intelligence. Citizens on Earth and across colonies continued to support the effort, inspired by every success. The galaxy began to whisper of humans' cunning and resilience. Where once they were seen as insignificant, they were now considered dangerous, unpredictable, and impossible to control. Humans had turned defiance into strategy, courage into action, and unity into power. The Council faced a species that could not be ignored, and the galaxy began to realize that the blue planet and its inhabitants had changed forever. The Council decided that they could no longer ignore humanity's growing influence and strength. They assembled their largest fleet, a massive force designed to intimidate and crush Earth quickly. Alien commanders believed that humans, despite their cleverness, could not withstand such an overwhelming attack. On Earth, leaders had anticipated this escalation. Alex Carter and Lily Morgan coordinated the defense with calm precision. Every station, ship, and orbital platform was ready. Olivia Turner and Samuel Bennett led the human forces with strategies that combined ingenuity and adaptability. Unlike the Council, humans did not rely solely on firepower. They used terrain, orbital patterns, and clever tactics to their advantage. Asteroid belts became natural fortresses. Debris fields were traps for incoming ships, and satellites provided constant surveillance. Human pilots executed maneuvers that surprised even the most experienced alien commanders. The Council expected chaos, but humans acted with unity and intelligence. They anticipated enemy moves and adapted quickly, often turning disadvantage into opportunity. On Earth, civilians also contributed. Engineers, scientists, and even ordinary citizens provided intelligence, repaired ships, and supported the human forces in ways that made the entire defense stronger. Rachel Price and Eric Nolan coordinated technology upgrades and emergency responses, ensuring that the human defense system remained flexible and effective. The Council grew increasingly frustrated. Their vast fleets and superior numbers were met with tactics they could not predict. Human ingenuity defied logic from the Council's perspective. They realized that underestimating humans had been their first mistake, and now they faced consequences. Reports of Earth's successes spread to distant systems, where observers began to reconsider their assumptions about the humans. Aliens who had once dismissed humanity started to understand that humans were formidable, intelligent, and unafraid. Even minor victories by humans were celebrated and analyzed across the galaxy as examples of creativity and courage. Back on Earth, Alex and Lily continued to oversee the operations with a steady hand. Their focus was not only on victory, but on restraint. Whenever possible, humans disabled council ships rather than destroying them, showing skill, control, and morality. This restraint only increased humanity's reputation across the stars. The council had hoped that fear would control humans, but fear did not govern them. Instead, intelligence, courage, and unity guided their actions. Each successful maneuver strengthened morale and proved that humans were not to be underestimated. Communication hubs, supply lines, and coordination networks worked flawlessly, making Earth a well-organized and resilient force. The Council faced the reality that humans had transformed from a seemingly weak species into one that could challenge even the most powerful fleets. Their tactics, unity, and courage had changed the balance of power. The galaxy watched as humans turned what could have been destruction into a demonstration of skill, resilience, and intelligence. Earth was no longer just a planet to be dominated. It was a force to be respected. The Council, once confident in its supremacy, now realized that humanity had become a species capable of facing overwhelming odds with creativity, strategy, and a sense of purpose. Every alien fleet, every command decision, and every council discussion would now have to consider humans as equals, not subordinates. The stage was set for a new era, one in which humanity had proven that courage, unity, and intelligence could overcome any threat, no matter how powerful. Finally, the Council accepted that Earth could not be dominated, that humans could not be forced into submission, and that the galaxy had underestimated a species that was clever, united, and fearless. The largest fleets that had been sent to intimidate Earth were neutralized or avoided through the ingenuity of human forces. Ships disabled rather than destroyed were proof of humanity's skill and discipline. Alex Carter and Lily Morgan oversaw negotiations from Earth, ensuring that the terms respected human independence while also opening opportunities for cooperation. Diplomats from neutral systems observed the interactions, offering alliances and support. The galaxy had begun to see humans as equals, not as insignificant beings. Citizens across Earth and its colonies celebrated quietly, aware that their planet had been tested and had prevailed. Scientists and engineers continued to work, not only to maintain defense systems but to expand exploration, trade, and communication networks. Rachel Price and Eric Nolan coordinated new technologies that would allow humans to reach further into the galaxy, to study, trade, and protect themselves from future threats. On the Council, representatives debated what had happened. Many admitted that humans had surprised them, that one word had been enough to challenge centuries of authority and expectations. No species had ever dared to speak so clearly, so boldly, to such a powerful council. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Observers marveled at humanity's courage and ingenuity. Rumors turned into lessons, and lessons became strategy discussions in other systems. Humans had proven that intelligence, unity, and courage could triumph where numbers and brute force might fail. On Earth, Alex and Lily reflected on the journey. They had faced the Council's demands, prepared carefully, and guided humanity through a test of courage and skill. They knew that the future would bring challenges, but they also knew that humans were ready. Every citizen, from engineers to pilots to ordinary people, had played a role in the victory. The one-word reply had been more than defiance. It had been a statement of identity and strength. Humanity had earned respect, recognition, and a place in the galaxy as a species not to be underestimated. Cooperation, trade, and exploration began under new terms, and humans were invited to participate in decisions that once would have excluded them. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species that had proven its worth through courage, unity, and intelligence. From that moment on, Earth and its inhabitants were seen as a power in their own right, capable of standing against threats, forging alliances, and shaping the future. Humanity had spoken with one word, but the echo of that word would continue to resonate across the stars, reminding all that courage, strategy, and unity could change the course of history. The Council had learned a lesson they would not forget. Never underestimate humans, for even the smallest species could possess the courage and ingenuity to redefine the galaxy.